There are places in the Americas where the clocks seem to forget their purpose, where time no longer ticks but breathes, stretching softly across mountains, rivers, and valleys that have seen more centuries than we ever will. In these landscapes, the wind becomes the keeper of memory, carrying the scent of pine and rain, whispering stories of the earth before we learn to name it. You walk for hours without seeing another soul, yet you never feel alone. The silence is alive, filled with echoes of what once was and what still endures. The light changes slowly, melting into gold, then silver, then the kind of dusk that feels eternal. Every horizon looks like the edge of a secret, every shadow like the ghost of an ancient traveler. There's no need to hurry here. The land itself decides the pace. You begin to understand that stillness is not the absence of movement, but the perfection of it. The rivers hum like lullabies. The grass sways in rhythm with a music you can't quite hear, but deeply feel. The cold air tastes of solitude and something sacred, something that asks you to listen rather than look. You stop trying to capture the moment. It's already capturing you. The world slows, and for once, you match its rhythm. This isn't about discovering new land. It's about remembering how to breathe. Here, time bends, softens, and dissolves into sky. Here, eternity feels close enough to touch. This is Unseen Americas, where time moves with the wind. Patagonia, Argentina, and Chile. Patagonia stretches endlessly across the southern edge of South America, where Argentina and Chile meet the winds in a silent conversation that never ends. A dialogue written in ice, stone, and sky that has been going on since the dawn of the continent itself. It is a land where the mountains seem to breathe with the pulse of the earth, and the skies unfold like ancient scrolls written by time itself, filled with clouds that drift like forgotten prophecies. The Andes slice through the horizon with unshakable majesty, their snow caps glistening under a light so pure it feels almost celestial, like a benediction poured from heaven. Glaciers like Perito Moreno crackle and roar as they shift and break, whispering stories of centuries carved in blue ice and of secrets buried deep within the frozen heart of time. In the Patagonian steppe, golden grasses ripple like an endless ocean under the push of eternal wind, carrying with them the scent of wild earth and the sound of solitude. The history of this region is a tale of resilience and endurance, from the Tehuelche people who roamed these plains long before maps existed, to the explorers who braved the unknown in search of meaning at the edge of the world. The culture here is woven from the spirit of gauchos, mountain climbers, and dreamers who find solace in solitude and a kind of quiet strength in the vastness that surrounds them. Wooden cottages and stone estancias dot the land like gentle echoes of another era, each one radiating a rustic charm untouched by time and modern ambition. The cuisine is hearty and soulful. Think roasted lamb slow-cooked over open fire, paired with rich Chilean wine that warms the bones and tells its own story with every sip. Patagonia's people are quiet but fierce, their eyes reflecting both the storms and serenity of the land, as if they carry the soul of the wilderness within them. The guanacos wander freely across the plains, and condors circle high above like ancient sentinels, guardians of a realm untouched by modern haste or human noise. Lush forests of lenga and near trees cling to the valleys, where waterfalls sing in hidden corners, their music blending with the wind to create nature's oldest hymn. Torres del Paine rises like a cathedral to the gods of stone, its peaks shrouded in mystic clouds that shift with the light, revealing and concealing the divine in equal measure. The vastness here humbles you to silence. It reminds you how small human footsteps truly are against the endless breadth of the earth. Beneath the surface of its deep blue lakes, geologists whisper about strange magnetic anomalies still unexplained. As if Patagonia itself hides mysteries not meant for human knowing. Some say there are lights that dance over the plains at night, not auroras, but something older, something alive, that no one can quite name or capture. Patagonia feels both young and ancient, suspended between creation and eternity, where every gust of wind seems to carry the echo of the world's first morning. Its villages, from El Chaltén to Ushuaia, breathe with the rhythm of the wind and fire, small yet defiant against the immensity that surrounds them. Travelers come searching for beauty, but they leave with silence, the kind that settles deep inside you and changes the way you see everything that comes after. The architecture, simple and sturdy, mirrors the strength of those who endure the long winters and the fierce grace of the changing seasons here. Rivers like turquoise ribbons snake between mountains, carrying whispers from glaciers long gone and promises to the sea that waits beyond. The wildlife moves like poetry. Pumas, foxes, flamingos, and wild horses, each playing their part in nature's grand and eternal design. Even the air feels ancient here, sharp and clean, as if it remembers the first dawn of Earth and the first breath ever taken. To stand in Patagonia is to witness time itself pausing for breath, to feel the pulse of the planet beating slow and strong beneath your feet. This is where the wind speaks louder than words, and the unseen, the eternal, the sacred, becomes something you can almost touch. Upstate New York, New York State, USA. North of the city that never sleeps lies a different New York entirely. A vast, untamed country of mountains, lakes, and mystery that calls to the restless heart of every traveler who's ever longed to escape the noise and rediscover silence. Upstate New York is where adventure hides in plain sight, from the thunder of Niagara Falls that shakes the horizon to the silent reflection of the Finger Lakes under a violet dawn that feels painted by dreams. The land is a paradox, wild yet gentle, ancient yet constantly renewing itself, as if nature can't decide which form of beauty to wear and instead chooses them all at once. The Adirondack Mountains stretch endlessly across the north, offering trails that wind through birch forests and valleys where you can still hear the echo of old logging songs fading into the mist. The Catskills, once the muse of painters from the Hudson River School, remain a living temple for artists, hikers, and wanderers chasing the perfect light through the folds of morning fog. Rivers twist through farmland and vineyards, carving paths older than the nation that grew around them, whispering stories of migration, hope, and endurance. History is everywhere here, in cobblestone towns like Saratoga Springs and Seneca Falls, where revolution and reinvention once danced hand in hand beneath the glow of gaslight. Locals hold fast to their heritage, balancing tradition with progress, honoring both the land and the legends that run deep beneath its soil. You taste that spirit in the food, in cider made from heirloom apples, passed down through generations, in cheese cured by mountain air, and in maple syrup still warm from the morning's first boil. Evenings bring the scent of bonfires, the sound of laughter, and the hum of bluegrass carried across lakes where time seems to pause and watch the stars being born. Wildlife is not a sideshow here, but a living presence. Bald eagles, foxes, and black bears that remind you this has always been their home long before ours. The lakes shimmer like fragments of the sky scattered across the earth, each one holding its own story, its own reflection of heaven's changing moods. In autumn, roads vanish under canopies of color so vivid they look like brushstrokes from another world, painted by a divine hand drunk on sunlight. Upstate is also a land of wonder unexplained. Deep beneath its valleys, old iron mines are said to hum softly at night, as if remembering the songs of men long gone and the heartbeat of the earth itself. And on clear nights, travelers speak of floating lights above the forests, moving too slow to be planes, too alive to be mere tricks of vision, gentle phantoms of curiosity. These mysteries are part of the magnetism that keeps the curious coming back, year after year, drawn by the strange comfort of not needing all the answers. Small towns offer antique shops, ghost tours, and conversations that last as long as the night sky stretches above dimly lit porches and fading neon signs. Architecture here mixes farmhouse charm with Victorian grandeur, preserved so faithfully that walking its streets feels like stepping through a doorway in time. Every road feels like a pilgrimage through history, from colonial fortresses to Art Deco theaters, from sun-drenched vineyards to forgotten barns swallowed by ivy. The people you meet are natural-born storytellers, weathered by snow and sun, each carrying a tale of endurance, belonging, and quiet defiance against the seasons. In winter, the land turns cinematic, snow glowing blue under moonlight, trees heavy with frost like sculptures of glass frozen mid-breath. In spring, waterfalls thunder with renewed life, roaring reminders that everything lost will return again in its own time. Upstate doesn't need skyscrapers to touch the sky. It already lives inside the clouds, high on wind and wonder. It's a landscape that doesn't perform for you. It invites you, softly, to listen, to breathe, to slow the rhythm of your thoughts. And once you do, you realize adventure was never about distance. It was about depth, about seeing the familiar with a heart wide open. Quebec countryside, Quebec, Canada. Far beyond the echo of Montreal's heartbeat, where the highways dissolve into winding forest roads and the sky opens like a cathedral of light, the countryside of Quebec breathes in colors that seem painted by time itself. This is a land where mist rolls gently over emerald hills, where barns tilt beneath the weight of seasons, and where maple trees stand like watchful elders, whispering secrets in the wind. Villages of stone and timber sleep along rivers that once carried the dreams of voyagers and traders who carved their way into the unknown. The St. Lawrence River, vast and silver, moves through it all like a living memory. Patient, unhurried, eternal. The air smells of pine and firewood, of morning bread baked in old ovens, of wildflowers that bloom even in the chill of early autumn. Each sunrise feels deliberate here, spilling gold across valleys that still remember the hooves of carriages and the songs of farmers greeting dawn. The people of rural Quebec move with the rhythm of the earth, proud, gentle, and bound by the unspoken poetry of endurance. Their homes, often centuries old, stand with quiet grace, stone walls built to resist the snow, roofs steeped in the weight of history and storm. The food is a comfort born of heritage. Stews thick with flavor, bread still warm from the hearth, maple syrup flowing like sunlight captured in glass. Festivals here don't shout. They hum, violins and accordions blending with the laughter of children running through fields of wild grain. And when twilight descends, lanterns flicker in windows like stars that refuse to leave the earth, their glow trembling softly against the dusk, as if caught between heaven and home. Old men gather on porches with pipes and stories, speaking of winters that tested faith and summers that healed it, their voices drifting into the air like slow smoke curling toward the past. The language shifts between French and silence, both carrying the same kind of music, gentle, unhurried, steeped in nostalgia that no translation could ever hold. You feel time folding here, centuries brushing past your skin like the wings of invisible birds, light and fleeting, yet heavy with the weight of everything remembered. Even the smallest gestures, a nod or a shared loaf of bread, seem sacred in their simplicity, as if kindness itself were the valley's oldest and purest religion. Artists come seeking solitude and leave with paintings that smell of rain and wood smoke, their canvases breathing the hush of rivers, the patience of stone, the warmth of unseen hands. In the taverns, songs rise like prayers, slow, wistful, and warm with memory, carrying laughter, heartbreak, and belonging in the same tender chord. A single candle in a window can feel like a lighthouse guiding hearts home through snow, its small flame holding back the dark with a courage so quiet it almost hurts to watch. Every gesture seems to echo deeper here, as if the land itself remembers who watched, who left, and who stayed, weaving all of it into the hush between wind and whisper. And always, above it all, the northern lights drift faintly on clear nights, a celestial reminder that wonder still belongs to the patient, to those who linger long enough to look up and believe. The forests shimmer with life, moose stepping through fog, foxes weaving through birch groves, and loons calling across lakes so still they seem to hold their breath. In winter, snow transforms everything into stillness. Fences, trees, and cottages vanish beneath a single white dream. You can hear silence here, a silence so deep it feels alive, like the earth itself pausing to listen. At dusk, church bells echo across frozen rivers, their notes mingling with the scent of smoke and the faint sound of boots crunching through snow. Somewhere in these woods, locals whisper of lights that move through the trees at night, blue, cold, and silent, vanishing when followed. Some say it's lost souls of old trappers. Others say it's the forest remembering itself in motion. The landscape here doesn't ask to be admired. It simply invites you to surrender. Every village carries stories of faith, hunger, and love. Stories etched into the frost on window panes and the calloused hands of those who never left. The architecture, from old stone mills to covered bridges, stands as a living museum of human resilience. Even time feels different. It doesn't rush forward, but curls softly like smoke above a chimney at dawn. You learn patience here, in the slow rhythm of snow melting, of cider fermenting, of life unfolding gently between storms. It's a world untouched by haste, where beauty hides not in grandeur, but in quiet persistence. The air is thick with memory, every gust a reminder that history isn't gone, it simply breathes slower here. Quebec's countryside is not just a place, it's a feeling, ancient, tender, and untranslatable. To stand here is to realize that the wind, too, carries stories, and if you listen long enough, it will tell you who you are. Appalachia, USA. Deep in the spine of the eastern United States, where the fog never fully lifts and the mountains breathe with their own slow pulse, lies Appalachia, a realm of whispers, echoes, and ancient calm that feels suspended between the earth's memory and the sky's forgetting. It is not a place you merely see, it is one that sees you back, quietly, from behind veils of mist and time, studying your presence with the patience of stone. The forests here feel eternal, thick with the scent of rain, moss, and the faint sweetness of decay, nature's way of remembering what once was and what must return again. Rivers move like veins of glass beneath canopies of shadow, carrying reflections of both the sky above and something unseen that drifts just below the surface. The air itself hums with history, a vibration of footsteps, of prayers, of songs sung long before English ever reached these valleys and reshaped their silence. Appalachia's mountains are older than the Himalayas, yet they rise with humility, their power hidden not in height but in endurance, in the slow, sacred patience of age. The people who call this land home live by instinct, their wisdom passed in gestures, in stories, in quiet reverence for what can't be explained and doesn't need to be. Wooden homes cling to ridges where even the wind pauses before speaking, as if respecting the endurance it finds there. Their walls carry laughter, grief, and generations of faith bound to the rhythm of the soil, echoing with the sound of rain on tin roofs and lullabies whispered by candlelight. Food here is ritual: cornbread, greens, smoked ham, all served with the grace of gratitude rather than the ceremony of luxury, as though every meal is an offering to the land itself. The nights stretch long and alive, filled with the scent of pine and the low, haunting sound of wind winding through hollers like a hymn no one ever wrote down. Fireflies appear like drifting stars caught between worlds, their glow soft and deliberate, as if the forest itself were breathing light from its hidden heart. Locals whisper of the brown mountain lights, glowing spheres that float above ridgelines, pulsing softly, vanishing when approached, defying explanation yet demanding belief. Scientists have studied them for decades. The people just nod, saying the mountains have their own language, one not meant for us, one that speaks in light and silence. In the deep woods, there are places where compasses spin and echoes repeat with an extra voice that doesn't belong. A quiet reminder that not everything in nature welcomes understanding. Here, mystery isn't a question, it's part of the landscape, stitched into the soil like roots that refuse to let go. Fog weaves between the trees like thought itself, delicate, uncatchable, infinite, erasing distance until the world feels folded in on itself. Each sunrise feels less like a beginning than a memory resurfacing from another lifetime, as if dawn is simply the past learning to glow again. The wildlife move with quiet intention, deer that watch without fear, ravens that seem to understand, foxes that vanish just before your eyes adjust to the light. The rivers speak in murmurs, the kind you can almost translate if you stand still long enough, patient enough to hear the words hidden in water. In small mountain towns, light flickers through stained glass windows, scattering color over pews long since abandoned, as if the prayers never stopped echoing. The people who remain carry both solitude and strength, their faith forged from mountain storms and silence, their resilience as steady as the hills themselves. Some nights, you can hear what sounds like a choir far off in the trees. No source, no path, just harmony rising from nowhere, drifting through the pines like breath from the earth itself, too fragile and too perfect to chase. Old miners spoke of ghost trains that run on moonless nights, their lamps glowing through the fog like memories that never learned to rest. Iron wheels turning to the rhythm of loss and longing deep beneath the mountain's heart. There are cabins with lights that flicker, though no one lives there. Their windows fogged from the inside as if someone just sighed. A quiet exhale caught between this world and whatever waits beyond. The mountains keep these stories, not out of superstition but loyalty. They remember for us what we forget, holding echoes and names and footsteps like keepsakes tucked in their ancient folds. When storms roll through, thunder doesn't crash. It rumbles like ancient voices debating the weight of time, rolling down the valleys in low, thoughtful tones that make even the stones seem to listen. Even silence here feels sentient, as if the land itself listens back, aware of your presence, your heartbeat, your wonder, and your trespass into its dreaming realm. Appalachia isn't just geography, it's a consciousness, patient and unhurried, where even time seems to exhale and rest a while. You don't conquer these hills. You surrender to them, allowing them to strip away the noise until all that's left is what's true. And when you leave, part of you stays, held in the quiet breath of the wind that keeps time with the oldest song the earth still knows, a melody that never ends. Catskill Mountains, New York, USA. Deep within the folds of upstate New York, Where fog lingers like memory and mountains breathe in rhythm with the sky, the Catskills rest, ancient, patient, and infinitely aware, as if they have been listening to the heartbeat of the earth since time first learned to move. They do not announce themselves. They emerge, rising from rivers and clouds, as if the earth were remembering a promise it once made to silence and kept for 1,000 quiet centuries. The light here is not ordinary. It bends around branches, it lingers on moss, it falls like grace across water that mirrors more than the sky. It mirrors the soul of whoever dares to look long enough. The forests murmur with voices older than speech, the creak of trees, the whisper of roots shifting beneath stone, the faint heartbeat of the soil itself echoing in a rhythm older than human thought. Every step feels like trespassing on a secret too old to translate. A language spoken by wind and rain to anyone patient enough to listen without needing to understand. Villages lie tucked between valleys, their rooftops peeking from mist like forgotten thoughts trying to return to consciousness after a dream that never really ended. Smoke rises from chimneys in slow spirals, merging with the low clouds that move like tides over hills unbroken by time, carrying the scent of wood and the memory of warmth. Inside, people live as they have for centuries, simply, quietly, their routines aligning not with hours, but with light, trusting the sun more than any clock. Meals are small celebration of existence, bread baked in silence, maple syrup poured over morning, the sound of fire as punctuation to the day's gentle rhythm. The mountains seem to breathe around you. Their slopes inhale fog and exhale wind, drawing you deeper into their calm until your own heartbeat feels like part of the landscape. Lakes reflect the sky too perfectly, and sometimes, locals say, the reflection moves before the surface does, as if the water dreams first, or remembers what the heavens will do before they do it. Others speak of the singing stones, places where wind trapped between cliffs produces tones so pure they feel alive, though no one can say why they sound different each time, as if the mountains are tuning themselves to mood and season. The Catskills are full of such mysteries, not demanding belief but offering wonder, like invitations written in cloud and light for those who still know how to wonder. The wildlife here moves like ghosts of its own mythology, deer emerging through fog, ravens circling with intent, and trout gliding through waters as clear as thought shaped into motion. Nights in the Catskills are darker than anywhere else. The stars seem closer, denser, as though they gather here to rest before continuing their endless journey across the void. The air grows thick with silence, a silence not empty, but saturated with awareness, as if the forest itself were holding its breath, waiting for you to match it. When it rains, the world slows. The sound of drops on leaves becomes a kind of meditation, a pulse that sinks your heart to the planets and makes you forget where you end and it begins. Even storms feel personal here, not intrusions, but conversations between sky and stone, thunder rolling like words spoken in a language too ancient for fear. The architecture hums with humility, cabins half swallowed by ivy, barns leaning into time, windows fogged by breath and memory, each one keeping watch over the changing light. The people who remain do not claim to own the land. They tend it, speak softly to it, and in return it allows them to stay, granting permission rather than possession. And sometimes, they swear the land answers, not in words, but in gestures too delicate for reason to name. A flicker in the trees when no wind blows, a single branch bowing as if in acknowledgement. A distant hum beneath the soil, like the slow turning of the earth acknowledging their care, an old pulse echoing under root and stone. Children leave small offerings, pebbles, feathers, pieces of twine, on old stumps as gestures of gratitude to something unnamed, a quiet pact between innocence and eternity. On fog-heavy mornings, elders say you can see footprints that don't belong to any living thing, leading from the forest edge to the river and back again. Soft impressions that vanish the moment you try to follow. The mountains have moods. Some days warm and forgiving, others cold and unreadable, as if testing who truly listens and who merely looks. There are nights when the mist glows faintly blue, and no one asks why, because wonder here is its own kind of prayer. In that quiet communion between people and place, ownership becomes devotion, and time itself feels like a guest welcomed, but never kept. Even the dogs refuse to bark after dark, as though they, too, understand the sanctity of the stillness, a shared silence older than language. And those who've left often say they can still hear the mountains breathing when they close their eyes, the sound of belonging echoing through the distance like a lullaby made of earth. You can feel history not in monuments, but in the way paths curve naturally, as though following something unseen that remembers where to go better than we ever could. Artists, wanderers, and seekers all find themselves drawn here, not for beauty, but for the kind of quiet that teaches, the kind that fills instead of empties. The Catskills do not offer answers. They offer presence, the awareness that being still is itself an act of understanding, and that listening is sometimes the truest form of prayer. In their vastness, you realize how small you are, yet how precisely you belong to the same pattern of breath, water, and stone that shapes everything that endures. And when you finally walk away, the mountains do not fade behind you. They remain within you, steady, endless, waiting for the next wind to carry their name through your dreams. Hudson Valley, New York, USA. Just 2 hours north of New York City, the Hudson Valley feels like a world away, a patchwork of farms, forests, and riverside towns that glow with old American soul, where the air itself seems to hum with stories whispered by the hills and the river's slow breath. Stretching from the Catskill Mountains to the river's wide estuary, it's a journey through both geography and time, where every mile seems to blend past and present into one sweeping panorama of memory and renewal. The land once shaped by glaciers now rolls with green hills, quiet lakes, and fields where morning fog curls like smoke rising from the earth itself, softening the edges of barns and stone walls that have stood for generations. You can drive for miles along scenic Route 9 and feel as though every bend brings a new postcard to life. One painted in sunlight, framed by maples, and set to the rhythm of the Hudson's gleam. Centuries ago, Dutch settlers built sturdy farmhouses here, and many still stand, their red bricks weathered but proud, framed by ivy, wild roses, and the quiet dignity of time's slow hand. The valley's history runs deep, from the Revolutionary battles near West Point to the industrial boom that gave rise to its storied railways and mills, each chapter etched into the landscape like veins of an old map. Today, those same factories have become creative havens, art studios, galleries, breweries, proof that the region never stops reinventing itself, always balancing nostalgia with new ideas and restless energy. In places like Beacon and Hudson, old warehouses now buzz with artists, musicians, and dreamers seeking the perfect view of the river, where inspiration drifts as freely as the evening light. Locals celebrate the changing seasons like sacred rituals. Apple picking in fall, maple syrup in spring, wine tastings all year round, moments that anchor them to the rhythm of nature and community. The food here feels grounded and genuine. Homemade cider donuts dusted with sugar, farm-fresh cheeses still warm from the dairy, and honey that tastes like sunlight captured in glass. Beyond its rustic beauty, Hudson Valley hides modern sophistication. Michelin-starred restaurants tucked behind stone walls, boutique vineyards rivaling Napa in charm and quiet grace. Nature thrives too. Hawks circling the cliffs of Storm King, herons gliding low across twilight waters, black bears wandering silently through pine forests that seem carved from myth. Hikers find paradise in trails like Breakneck Ridge, where every steep step brings a new horizon, and the panoramic summit feels like a reward earned from both endurance and awe. At night, the air cools and the stars spill over the river like scattered diamonds. A glittering reminder that New York's truest lights aren't confined to the skyline of Manhattan. The architecture speaks of legacy. Grand mansions like the Vanderbilt estate, their halls echoing with ghostly laughter, or the mysterious ruins of Bannerman Castle perched like a dream on its tiny island. Every small town has a story, and every cafe seems to host a painter, a writer, or a traveler who came for a weekend and stayed for a lifetime, unable to leave the valley's quiet magic behind. The people here have a calm strength, born from working the land, weathering the seasons, and loving its rhythm in ways that city dwellers can only imagine. They speak proudly of sustainability, history, and the delicate balance between preservation and progress, a harmony that feels both fragile and fiercely protected. Festivals fill the valley with music, jazz by the river, folk songs echoing in old barns, and laughter that drifts across open fields like confetti on the wind. Visit in autumn, and you'll witness colors so fierce they seem painted by fire itself, every tree aflame against the blue of the Hudson sky. Come winter, snow hushes everything, and the valley transforms into a living Christmas card, silent, luminous, and utterly timeless. Even the wind seems slower here, carrying with it the scent of apples, pine, wood smoke, and nostalgia. A perfume of memory that lingers long after you've gone. Some travelers swear that the Hudson has moods, sometimes serene, sometimes stormy, always alive, reflecting the temper of the land and the hearts of those who love it. A pro tip: rent a car, roll down the windows, and follow no plan. Let the road choose for you, because spontaneity is the best compass in a place built on discovery. Because the Hudson Valley isn't just a destination, it's a feeling that follows you home, a gentle ache that makes you want to return before you've even left. Shenandoah Valley, Virginia, USA. Draped between the Blue Ridge Mountains and the Alleghenies, Shenandoah Valley stretches like a dream carved into the very heart of Virginia, a landscape where horizons breathe and every ridge feels like a hymn rising toward the sky. It is a place where the light moves slowly, painting fields of wildflowers and amber wheat with the same tenderness that time gives to memory, lingering over each curve of the land as if reluctant to leave. Each dawn rolls over the hills like silk, revealing misty meadows and barns bathed in the soft gold of first light, while the air hums faintly with the promise of another gentle, unhurried day. Once the cradle of Native American trails, the valley holds the echo of ancient footsteps beneath its calm surface, as though the earth itself remembers every journey that has ever crossed it. The river that shares its name winds gently through the landscape, its silver waters whispering to stones older than empires, telling stories in ripples that catch the light and vanish like passing thoughts. History breathes here, from Civil War battlefields now quiet and green, to weathered churches whose bells have outlasted generations and still call out softly across the valleys at dusk. In the small towns, brick facades and white porches speak of a simpler rhythm, where hospitality isn't a word but a reflex born of kindness and inherited grace. The architecture blends time and tradition, old mills reborn as inns, farmhouses restored by hand, and homesteads kept alive by families who still honor the patience of craftsmanship. In autumn, the mountains ignite in waves of crimson and gold, cascading down the slopes like the earth is setting itself on fire for one last radiant performance before winter's hush. Travelers follow Skyline Drive, one of America's most scenic roads, where each turn feels like a painting come alive, and the horizon stretches so far, it seems to fold into eternity. Wildlife thrives here, deer stepping softly through morning mist, black bears rustling in shadowed woods, and eagles circling high above with effortless, ancient grace. The songs of cicadas and rustling leaves create a music older than words, a rhythm of the earth that reminds every visitor that silence itself is part of nature's conversation. The valley's air carries the scent of rain and wild honey, a perfume that feels like nostalgia itself, sweet and fleeting, stirring memories that were never truly yours, yet feel familiar. Locals still gather in markets where jams, pies, and hand-woven baskets tell stories of generations who refused to rush, who measured time not in minutes but in harvests. Food is humble but heartfelt. Apple butter thick as velvet, fried chicken crisp from the skillet, and cornbread that crumbles like sunlight, each bite tasting of comfort and belonging. The people of Shenandoah carry an unspoken wisdom, their kindness rooted deep in the soil they walk upon, their voices steady like the rhythm of the river they've always known. At dusk, fireflies rise from the fields like stars escaping gravity, and the valley exhales into quiet, holding its breath in that tender pause between day and night. The night sky unfolds, wide and infinite, the Milky Way tracing its arc above the sleeping hills, as if the heavens themselves lean closer to listen. There's a serenity here that cannot be photographed, only felt in the stillness between heartbeats, where the world slows to the pace of thought and breath. Legends linger in the fog, whispers of hidden caves, forgotten homesteads, and lights seen deep in the forest that no one can explain, yet everyone quietly accepts. Yet even its mysteries feel kind, as if the land keeps them not to scare, but to remind us of wonder, to let imagination live where proof never dares to go. The valley is not about spectacle, it's about presence. The art of simply being where time softens its grip and silence becomes its own reward. Every traveler who comes here leaves a little quieter, a little more whole, as though the valley had lent them a piece of its peace to carry home. If you wander these roads, remember this: the best secret of Shenandoah is to stop often, for beauty hides in still moments, and every pause becomes a discovery. For this is where the wind carries both memory and promise, weaving the timeless soul of America into every leaf, every stone, every lingering breath of the valley. Willamette Valley, Oregon, USA. Nestled in the lush heart of western Oregon, the Willamette Valley feels like a world built for wanderers who crave both simplicity and abundance. A place where mornings begin in mist, afternoons shimmer in golden haze, and every evening settles softly beneath an ocean of stars. Stretching nearly 150 miles from Portland down to Eugene, it's a patchwork of farms, vineyards, rivers, and forests that seem to stretch forever, their textures shifting gently with the light like an endless quilt stitched by nature herself. The valley is framed by two mountain ranges, cradling a landscape so fertile it has been feeding dreams for centuries. Its soil dark and generous, its horizon breathing with the quiet confidence of life that never needs to boast. Early settlers followed the Oregon Trail to this place, guided by stories of endless harvests and skies that always seemed to forgive, chasing the idea of a home where the land itself offered grace to those willing to listen. Today, that promise still lives in every field, every glass of wine, and every smile you'll meet along its back roads. Proof that time has only deepened the valley's warmth rather than dimmed it. The Willamette River winds like a silver thread through towns where modern creativity meets small-town charm, tying together communities that seem to exist in both past and present at once. In places like Corvallis, Salem, and Newburgh, you'll find a rhythm that's equal parts tradition and innovation. Old farmhands and young winemakers working side by side, sharing the same language of soil and season. Vineyards stretch over rolling hills, their rows so precise they look like green waves frozen mid-motion, rising and falling with a grace that seems almost musical when the wind drifts through. Oregon's wine country is humble yet world-class. It's Pinot Noir, beloved for capturing the valley's very essence. Grounded, balanced, quietly bold, a reflection of the people who make it in the land that shapes it. Beyond wine, the land yields pears, hazelnuts, and lavender fields that turn the countryside purple under the summer sun, painting the air with a fragrance so soft it feels like memory itself. Farmers' markets burst with color, berries, honey, artisan bread. Each stand a small celebration of the valley's generosity, each face behind the table glowing with pride in what their hands have grown. Locals live close to the land, and you feel that honesty in the way they speak. Calm, thoughtful, unhurried, as if every conversation were shaped by the same patience that makes the vines bloom. The architecture tells a story too. Restored barns now serve as tasting rooms filled with laughter, and old mills hum again with the quiet energy of new beginnings born from old bones. Nature is never far. Waterfalls hide in mossy forests, ferns drape over stone, and eagles soar above rivers where salmon fight their ancient battle upstream, undisturbed by the centuries passing around them. If you're looking for adventure, hike Silver Falls State Park, where 10 waterfalls tumble in one loop like nature's own orchestra, each cascade performing its movement in harmony with the mist. The weather, unpredictable but poetic, wraps the valley in rain one day and golden light the next, reminding you that beauty here is always alive, always in motion. Locals say the mist gives the vines their magic, a soft veil that teaches patience and resilience. the same patience you'll need to truly feel the rhythm of this place. The food scene is a love letter to the land, from wood-fired pizza made with local flour to truffle-infused dishes that taste like the forest floor after rain. Each bite a reminder that indulgence can be honest. Music drifts from open-air festivals, blending with the hum of cicadas and the laughter of travelers who stayed longer than they planned, caught by the valley's gentle gravity. The valley's beauty lies not in grandeur, but in gentleness. It doesn't demand attention, it invites it, quietly, until you realize it has wrapped itself around your soul. It's easy to lose track of time here. Even your heartbeat seems to slow to match the river's steady rhythm, as though the land itself were teaching you to breathe again. Locals often say, you don't rush the Willamette, you sip it like good wine. And somehow, when you're here, those words stop being metaphor and start becoming truth. And that's the secret every traveler learns too late. This valley rewards the unhurried, offering its treasures only to those willing to linger. My tip: wander off the highways, follow the small roads that twist through farms, and let curiosity lead you past signs and schedules towards something simpler, older, truer. Because the Willamette Valley isn't about seeing everything, it's about feeling everything. One breath, one vineyard, one sunset at a time, until you understand that paradise doesn't need to be chased, only noticed. Blue Ridge, North Carolina/Virginia, USA. Draped in veils of mist and endless layers of blue, the Blue Ridge Mountains stretch like an ancient hymn across the spine of the American South, a song written not in words but in wind. stone, and the long memory of the earth. Rising gently through North Carolina and Virginia, these mountains breathe history, mystery, and melody into the air itself, wrapping every traveler in a quiet that feels older than language. Every dawn begins as a watercolor, soft hues melting across the ridges, each shade whispering a secret of the land's eternal patience, as if the morning sky were learning once again how to be tender. The light here doesn't simply shine, it lingers, slipping between the trees like a ghost with nowhere else to be, moving slowly as if reluctant to disturb the deep stillness it adores. Between the rolling peaks, rivers carve stories into stone, and waterfalls tumble like threads of glass through green cathedrals of forest, where every drop seems to echo forever. This land has seen everything: the footsteps of Cherokee hunters, the songs of settlers, and the echoes of centuries that refuse to fade, their presence woven into the moss, the wind, the soil itself. The Blue Ridge is not merely a mountain range. It is a living pulse, the heartbeat of Appalachia, steady and eternal, drumming softly beneath the hush of pines. You can feel it in the hush before sunrise, when the world feels half awake, listening for something sacred that seems always just beyond words. The famous Blue Ridge Parkway winds along these slopes like a silver ribbon, connecting time, memory, and wonder with every curve that opens to another breathtaking silence. Each overlook offers a view so vast it humbles you, reminding you that beauty doesn't shout, it breathes, quiet and sure as the wind through a field of wild grass. In spring, wildflowers spill across meadows like paint from the hands of an unseen artist, a celebration so gentle it feels like nature's own prayer. In summer, mist rises from the valleys like steam from the earth's own soul, turning the air into silk and softening even the sharpest edges of thought. Autumn arrives like fire, red, amber, gold, a fleeting masterpiece brushed across the forest before winter's quiet hand returns to draw its curtain of frost. Locals here live by the rhythm of the mountains, slow mornings, honest work, and songs carried by wind instead of wires, their days stitched together by faith, laughter, and the sound of rain on tin roofs. The music born here, bluegrass, folk, gospel, still echoes in the wood of front porches and in the steady beat of those who keep its spirit alive, strumming stories into twilight. Food is simple, rooted, comforting. Cornbread still warm from the skillet. Smoked trout pulled from nearby streams. Apple butter that tastes of home and hearth and the patience of slow living. The wildlife seems unhurried too. Deer move through the haze like whispers. Black bears wander softly through moss and shadow, and hawks glide on invisible drafts of grace. Ancient trees rise like cathedrals, their trunks carved by time, their roots tangled with memory, their leaves whispering psalms only the wind can translate. Legends drift among these woods, stories of lost travelers, ghost lights, and music heard when no one's playing, tales that linger at campfires long after the flames fade. But even its mysteries feel kind, held gently in the folds of fog and faith, as if the unknown here were a friend rather than a fear. Travelers come searching for scenery and find instead a kind of stillness they didn't know they'd lost. a peace that seeps slowly into the soul and stays there. The valley winds whisper like old friends, and every mile feels like a slow dance with eternity, graceful, patient, and endlessly forgiving. There's a place here where the sky meets the earth so softly it's hard to tell where one ends and the other begins, a horizon made of dreams and distance. A travel secret for those who come, drive at sunrise, pull over often, and let silence do the talking, for it speaks the mountain's oldest truths. Because in the Blue Ridge, time doesn't pass. It drifts like mist between the mountains, waiting for you to breathe it in, to become part of the song it's been singing for 1,000 years.